Today speaks from the book of Okpukpe, the principles of Chim, the extracts from the book P19.23.32, and the extracts from P22.22. Part of the problem with an individual roaming in the cycles of emptiness for too long is that he is not just the only one who suffers, but others as well, whose parts of roles in life are partly tied to his. When a person is not getting on effectively in his roles in life, those whose well-being and welfare and roles are also tied to his struggle and suffer. And for this reason, we say that the effective fulfillment of a person's given role in life can be the key to the unlocking of destinies. The effective fulfillment of a person's given special role can be the key to the unlocking of millions of destinies. P22. When you rise, strengthen yourself so those you share common cause with will also rise in good world ways. The spirit of distraction has been heavily directed against some humans with big calls upon their lives through their senses. How can they free themselves from this cycle of emptiness spirit, this chaining, frustrating spirit? For so many souls await their arrivals for their freedom, for their liberty. Until they begin to arrive, countless people are still bound and countless suffer. For a one-man struggle against this spirit is the chain caging millions, and his triumph over them, their freedom, their hope, their strength and future, though unknown to them, unknown to so many. Who can then help us to see these things the way they are? Who can really help us to see things the way they really are? P32. Even in the center of bad and evil world, Chim's mercy line cuts through, and the light of his good word reaches it too, rescuing those whose anguish and pain vibrates silently in supplication to him. Number 1, from the extract, spiritually. A people having their own spirituality is important because one's inner man is whom truly the person is. On the spiritual, if your inner man is placed under subjugation by the overall concept of the religion you belong to, you live out lives of enslavement as a people to that very concept and reality. Because spiritually, you have been positioned and placed to be so from the foundation of such belief, from the foundations of such religion. Number 2, religiously. It is important for a people to have their own religion, based on their related and understandable commonality. It is important for a people to have their own religion based on their related and understandable commonality. But this has to be done in orderly way, especially with people who already identify with outside religion. The reason why doing this in orderly way is important is more of societal one, despite the deep urgency of one's desire to free his people from the realistic entrapment of such beliefs where advice. In plain words, the practitioners of such beliefs have adapted to the societal structures provided by such religions, and one cannot just take away those societal practices, support, and ties, and the tradition of them to the people, without first replacing them with comprehensive ones to cater for the needs of such people. Societal needs such as religion, people support and attendance, events of births, marriages, and funerals, which are some examples of the societal needs of the people. These are important to the people together with the socializing and networking which such beliefs and practices provide for them as a base or as basis. These are some of the things that keep people where they are, those very religions, without them being conscious of the actual reasons why they are there. It is not necessarily because of the spirituality nor for their mental well-being, but for the societal benefits of belonging there and their reliance on those structures and networkings. For those who are disillusioned with religion. Number 3, for those who are disillusioned with religion. People within a spiritual belief cannot excel beyond their spiritual positioning by the authors of such belief because they, out of their own free will, consent to it by practicing it, thereby binding themselves and those dear people whom they promote and sell it to. If the authors of such belief position the certain section of the practitioners of it under spiritual and mental subjugation to the rest, those practitioners reinforce the binding of that subjugation each time they practice it, even from their mere collectivism of agreement on a patterned prayer. One spiritually and mentally cannot be greater than the spiritual positioning of which one consent to. For those disillusioned with the religions altogether, I would say this, that abandoning religion altogether is not the answer and will not be, because of the deeper importance of it to humanity and to creations. But it is important to look critically at the real spiritual and mental placing and implications of you being there as a person and collectively for the people you linearly identify with. It is absolutely important to look at things like that. Is a belief spiritually and mentally enslaving you and your kind? Is this something you are afraid to look at critically and analyze? These are important questions you have to ask yourself, bearing in mind that it is what is not seen that gives birth to what is seen, and one cannot be greater than his spiritual man and positioning. This is important because of the spiritual levels and provisions they are attached to and provide, and the chains of the supernatural lines relating to it, of which not everyone may be able to understand this. And if your spiritual man has been caged and shackled under the beliefs you consent and belong to, out of your own free will, then your destiny cannot be greater than that placing of that belief on you, because each time you practice it, you reinforce that placing you consented to. It is this part of the placing of certain beliefs on certain group of people that those who are critical of religions look at, together with some vices they see, and turn themselves almost into anti-religion, anti-religious people, which is itself not the solution. Religion is important for a people. Basically, religion is important for a people, their own religion, for their own well-being and welfare, for their needs, for their future. In conclusion, I will take a strat from the book of Okpukpe or from P22 and leave you, the listener, to make what you will of it. And the entire strat read out today, that I've read out today. And when the palace and the city of Mado had been built, the deep city, hidden underneath the earth's crust, near the mantle, and the 12 cities of Undu, the earth, as has never been witnessed even today, built. The earth's children population on the increase. The two agreed to have a son, raise him to a responsible age, then leave him in the palace with the priest and the temple workers, the helpers of the palace, and the assisting leaders of the various parts of Undu, the earth, to run their affairs. The part of leaving him was the hardest part of it, especially for Ola. But their time to leave and continue across the cosmos on their way was also fast approaching. They then decided to code into what we call today the sun, which Mado named after Ola, altering and strengthening its chemical compositions for durability, the lasting steadfastness, the knowledge-opening energy, and creative force around Undu, the earth, and the entire Usoro, known to us today as the solar system. The gloom breathing of the happiness and blossoming particles for humans, and living dense multiplication and few other goodies to help their son, his descendants, and his people to master Undu, the earth, also the solar system. The inner edges around Keno, the mass, its outer one after Uru, just before the four main difficult layers and outreaches of Umbara, known to us now as the interstellar space, into Ochi, where it will be easier for him and his people to have access to them and the universe of Aboro. If they manage to do this, then they would live longer and eventually cease to suffer physical death, but gain knowledge of various dimensions of existence within their universe and across, for this will be the case when their bodies begin to gradually breathe and adapt to the air of life there, which would hurt them initially. They then encoded her name to the sun, called Ola, to help activate these things to their son, his descendants, and his people. Madu then proceeded to write down the code of laws governing almost everything within the physical realm for his son and subsequent descendants that will come after him in increasing, used by the universes. They see divided into three parts, with the third activating the second and the second together with the third activating the first. Ola then wrote 3 inscriptions of the codes, remittable around the surroundings of the palace in a transform, only to a higher blood serial line, matching their second blood serial number, for they both had 3 major ones each, the exact same numbers. This can be received from as far as the depth of 41 kilometers from the palace, or the length of 41 kilometers from the palace. The inscriptions would then lead the right person to the codes around it. She then recorded the audio of the 3 inscriptions of the codes that speaks only to the higher Syria bloodline, matching again the middle number of Mados and Hes, and this she made to transmit across the scope of Undu, the earth, revealing things that have happened to the spoken and knowledge. And this also included the things which they have done on earth, as recorded by Uche Abor, whom the planet Saturn was named after, and the things that will come after them, after they have left, and kept in the temple's library, which were also already remitted to Ochi and Agboro. The inscriptions seem made to be guides to the codes, which were the 3. And when the baby was born, standing in front of the altar of the royal temple, she altered them into the 9, 12, and 41 blood series of the baby she held in her arms, for she had that ability to do that. The DNA code of Mado and herself each were made up of 9 chemical bases and consisted of 36 billion bases and multi-trillions of miniatures, which they simplify to that 9, 12, and 41. She worked the gene, so her son and any rightful descendant of his who is destined to rule Undu and the universe of Agu eventually will not have more than 3 children. And from these 3 children will the rightful one be chosen by the to rule in their stead, to rule in their place. And this will be the case for the generations to come deep into the infinite future on earth and beyond. My name is Ihani Chim Ndukwe Uche. I am the first Nkuzi of Okpukpe. This is our religion, you and me. Please like and follow me on my pages to know more about the teaching. Chim bless you.